Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in a country filled with racial discrimination, South Africa. Whites were always superior to black people, ever since the Dutch, English, and Portuguese colonized South Africa. The Dutch, believing they had a more advanced culture, led to them looking down upon the indigenous Khoi and San people. The black and whites always lived separate lives, but it was in 1950 when the first law was established for apartheid. Apartheid meaning apart in the South African language, Afrikaans. Mandela always believed that everyone was equal, and the fact that the whites and non-whites were forbidden to get married, go to the same school, same toilets, same beaches, or even be in the same hospital filled him with disgust, which then inspired him to join the African National Congress. In 1943, he first joined as an activist, and then became the president of the ANC Youth League. Nelson Mandela convinced the ANC to use boycotts and strikes against the government. However, he was arrested in July 1963 and sentenced to imprisonment for life. He was freed after 27 years as the apartheid ended. In 1993, Mandela won the Nobel Peace Prize, and in 1994 he became the first democratically elected president of South Africa. This man has done many good deeds for South Africa, and it is our privilege to introduce you to him.
Good morning. Welcome to Duma Does. I'm Stacey, and today we're going to be interviewing the almighty legend Nelson Mandela. So, Nelson Mandela, what gave you the courage to stand up for what you believed in?
I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. I knew there had to be someone who should stand up against the apartheid. As a young boy, I had experienced the cruelty of the apartheid. A long time ago, I was beaten up by the police for not carrying the passport, just to enter the white land.
Why were you beaten up? Why were you required to carry this passport?
Everyone that was non-white had to carry a passport containing fingerprints, photo and information of the reason they were allowed to enter a non-black area.
Did this impact your decision of standing up for what you believe in?
Yes, it did. That's the reason I joined the ANC. I then created the military wing of ANC, Umkhonto weSizwe, MK, and started boycotts and protests against the government. This attracted worldwide attention and caused the South African government to take action. They threw me in prison and sentenced me for life.
How would you describe your life in prison? How did it feel when you were finally freed?
I lived in a filthy single cell, filled with pure darkness. If I hadn't been in prison, I wouldn't be able to achieve my dream. Being in prison gave me plenty of time to think and how I could make a change. Those 27 years impacted my life and made me the person that I am today. In my younger days, I was arrogant. Jail helped me to get rid of it. I did nothing but make enemies because of my arrogance. Getting freed from prison was like being born again. I was oblivious to the fact that I would meet such a huge crowd at the gate.
Wow, 27 years? That's a long time. How did you not want to seek revenge against the whites?
I knew that everyone is equal and deserved to be treated equally. That was the reason I started striking in the first place. Seeking revenge would contradict everything I believed in and would get South Africa nowhere. Forgiving people that treated me wrong was the only way to move on and make South Africa the great nation it was destined to be. When I was going through the apartheid, I knew what it felt like to be treated unfairly. Seeking revenge would make me as low as the people who started the apartheid.
How did life differ from during the apartheid to after the apartheid?
In 1990, the apartheid laws were revoked by the new president, Frederick Willem de Klerk. The 30-year ban on the ANC was lifted and political leaders were released, including me. During the apartheid, South Africa's population had 19 million blacks and 4.5 million whites, and only 13% of that land was allocated to the blacks. There was one doctor for 44,000 of us and one teacher for 60 of us. After the apartheid, South Africa became a country that included black, white, Indian, colored, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, communist and liberal conservatives in the government. The South Africa of my dreams.
It was nice meeting you, Nelson Mandela. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
That's all for today on Duma Does. I'm Stacey Jafta, and goodbye.